isn't it good? It's just incredible.
Yeah, they drop the.
Where are you?
In Butte.
We're in Butte, Montana. Woo!
Happy 4th of July.
Whoops.
Betsy.
A lot of you know about what Montana Peace Seekers Network is, but for those of you who are new, let me just tell you a little bit of a history of it.
Please tell us your name.
My name is Frank Krumkowski. I'm one of the co-founders of the Peace Seekers Network. Back in December of 2001, when some of us got together and said we have to be bringing the various peace groups from across the state into a more connected network. And so in December of 2001, we had our first gathering in Helena, a rally and a funeral procession really for all the victims of universal injustice, including the crimes committed by various great powers on earth to not necessarily the United States and the Soviet Union, Russia knows, but people were killing innocent victims left and right. So since that time in December of 2001, we've had a variety of informal connections with each other. We don't have any formal council that makes decisions, but work by consensus. We communicate with each other through email, phone calls, and for the last 3 years, possibly four, we have been here in Butte for an annual gathering hosted by Butte TAPS, Taking Action for Peaceful Solutions. I want to thank Mary Kay Craig, who is the coordinator of TAPS for Rosemary Brock. Rose Brock as well. Rosemary. Anybody else from Butte?
Well, those are the ones that have really been. How can you think of
Okay.
it?
Those three folks and lots of other helpers who have helped over the last 4 years to welcome us and get us involved in the 4th of July parade. Today, I want to have us have reports from all the groups who are here, and I've got about 16 people who want to give a short report. But before I do that, we'll have some singing, both sing-alongs and some songs by some of our more professional singers. I want to have everyone here introduce themselves, just briefly, say where you're from, your name, so that we can have a little bit of a feel for who's here and where you're from. Like I said, I'm Frank Krumkowski from Helena, and I work with the Helena Peace Seekers.
Oh, Patricia, Rich about.
From?
I live here in Butte.
Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome.
All right, my name is Dory Ritrovato, and I'm Patricia's husband. We live here in Butte, and we have Chimney Master and Ghetto Recording.
I'm Eve Malo. I'm from Dillon. I represent Amnesty International from Montana.
I'm Starshine from Great Falls, and I presume about all I represent is Quakers, but because we don't have peace group in Great Falls. You're here.
You're it. Great Falls Peace
We have Ray here too.
Yeah.
I'm Judy Ansley from Dillon.
I'm Phil Cohey. I'm an auxiliary with Just Don't Go in Helena, Montana.
I'm John from Helena. From Peace. Let's go.
My name's Steve. I'm from Helena, and I just don't go.
I'm Joanne. I'm from Helena, a former Helena Peace Seeker chairperson, and I am representing Just Don't Go in Helena.
Yeah.
I'm Philomena Janilla Garvin. I'm from Maui. I was in the Maui Peace Action for 5 years before I came to Helena, and I'm part of the Just Don't Go. We're trying to do counter recruitment in the schools.
Yay!
My name's Lee Onashuk. I came over here on the bus to march in the parade and also to view the scenery on the way over here and back.
He's from Missoula.
Missoula, yeah. I've heard of the place.
Go ahead.
I'm Nordra Han for one. I'm from Butte.
I'm George Waring from Butte.
I'm Marion Jensen. I'm from Butte.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Ethel McDonald from Missoula with Peace Center and everything else in Missoula.
Hi, I'm Bruce Russell. I'm with Montana Partners for Impeachment. We're not a membership organization, but we're a coordinating organization.
I'm Chad Polford from Missoula.
And Carol Schneider from Missoula.
Ray Jurgensen, Great Falls.
Kelmer Stevenson, originally from Great Falls, right now Anaconda.
I'm Nan Cohen, came on the bus from Missoula, Jeanette Rankin Peace Center, and I'm Missoula's most visible light worker.
Yeah.
I'm Carmen Layton and I'm from Missoula as well.
I'm Lisa Dixon, I'm from Missoula.
Lane Kay, Bozeman, Peace Seekers.
Bob Roten, Bozeman, Peace Seekers.
Susan Nichols Roten, Bozeman, Peace Seekers.
Sophie Ziner, I'm with the Pastors for Peace Caravan, and I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yay! What a small world.
I'm Katie McDonald-Stratton, and I'm from Missoula, and I'm going with Sophie here on the Pastors for Peace Caravan to Cuba.
Yay, Katie!
I am Carter Dickinson, and I'm from Missoula, and I'm proud to be a part of the staff at the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center.
I'm Rose Brock and I'm from Butte.
I'm Mary Kay Craig, and I'm from Butte.
Kim Brown from Florence with Jeanette Rankin Peace Center and an auxiliary member of Veterans for Peace.
John Meredith, I'm with the Montana Veterans for Peace and the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center. Looking forward to moving up to the Vancouver area soon.
Also with Montanans support the troops and withdrawal from Iraq. He's one of the key people working in Missoula to get that on the ballot.
Yay!
We have approved by our council commissioners. But these two
Yay!
are in that as well.
I'm Billy Hopkins. I'm from Missoula. I'm with the Peace Center bus today, and I think everyone here should support their local food bank. Begins with hunger fed.
That's right. My name is Portia. I'm a VISTA volunteer at the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center.
Yay!
John Jansen from Butte.
Charlotte Trollinger from Boulder.
My name is Richard Mecklenburg. I'm the editor of Campaign, publisher and editor of Campaign Democracy, a newspaper that I created. And I'm also chairman of Bozeman Community Radio. And I'm from Belgrade, Bozeman, Gallatin Valley area.
I'm Paul Richards. I'm from the Boulder Valley.
Recently candidate for U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
I'm Margarita McClarty from Bozeman.
I'm Don McClarty from the Bozeman Peace Seekers.
And the hardest workers on the float, the two of them.
Yay!
And supporters of the lady.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm Suzanne Lipke from Polson, Lake County.
And I'm Rick Gold filming the whole thing. Missoula.
I mentioned one other person, who, along with myself, was representing the Montana Episcopal Peace Fellowship, Montana chapter of the Episcopal Peace Fellowship. It's Martha Winford from Anaconda. And so, in addition to representing the Helen Peace Seekers here, I'm representing the Montana Episcopal Peace Fellowship, which was started just last year. And so we marched the parade just after we got founded last year, and the three of us were here this year. We may have more members of the Montana Episcopal Peace Fellowship. If you are, speak up. No. Okay, so there are other various other things up here that for sale and for takeaway too, including for sale Dynamite Women, which is a book by Eve Malin of Dylan, and she will be talking a bit. It's about the 10 women who have won the Nobel Peace Prize in the 20th century. One thing we're going to do too as well, and Mary Kay will be going around with raffle tickets, is that we're going to sell some raffle tickets for that big Make Art Not War poster that you see there. That'll help, cover the cost as well of the event. And if you would like to buy a poster like that, they can be made and bought for $80. So it's really neat. The design is by Shepard Fairey from San Francisco.
Los Angeles,
San Francisco area. And, last time I was in Mary Kay Saunders, it was San Francisco. My memory's great, but facts are wrong.
I thought you were originally from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to have 16 reports, maybe 17. But before we do that, Phil Covey is going to lead us off. Phil Covey is going to come to help us sing a song to start out. So Phil's going to get his guitar, and later on we're going to have you sing with me the song "Don't You Go Down and Sign Up." And I know the tune to that one. I'm not one of the professional singers, but I can sing that song, and I know the songwriter really well. So I've heard that song 100 times. You can do it. So can you. You've got to follow along with me. So, there are copies on your sheet. But Phil Covey from Helena is going to start us off. Warm myself a little bit more with a song called Going Backwards in Time.
Okay, I know that song. This is just a little song to let you know that calendars can sometimes be deceiving. Well, I ain't got a nickel and I ain't got a lousy dime. Feels like I'm going backwards in time. All us poor folks keep falling further behind. Going backwards in time. Going backwards in time. I went down to the men's room, couldn't get it off of my mind. I said to the man on my left, "Hey man, so you got the time? I ain't too sure about mine." Now people call on the phone every night. They ask for me by name, but they don't get it right. If they had their way, they'd be stealing me blind. To make the CEOs happy to be going backwards in time. Back to Calvin Coolidge, speculators out to get rich. Deregulating here and there, I hardly noticed the switch. Ain't that a son of a gun? Because I ain't got a nickel and I ain't got a lousy dime. Feels like I'm sort of on a decline. Once they get you down in the day-to-day grind, they got you backwards in time. Got you backwards in time. Woke up from a nightmare in the middle of a Middle East war. The children were running all around, all that blood and gore. Now, who the hell is that for? Because I ain't got a nickel, I ain't got a lousy dime. It feels like I'm going backwards in time. All us poor folks keep falling further behind. Going backwards in time. Going backwards in time. Well, I forgot the lyrics, so we'll have to end the song.
Going backwards in time.
All of us know, or most of us know, so we'll do that. First report we're going to have today is from Betsy Mulligan-Dake from the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center. As some of you already know, Betsy went to the United for Peace and Justice National Peace Network meeting in Chicago 2 weeks ago, more or less, and represented us as a Montana representative to the United for Peace and Justice. We nominated for Betsy to be part of the National Steering Council. We consulted, as we always do, and by consensus, to say, sure, we want Betsy to be on the council. Well, she wasn't elected, but we'll get her elected next year. But Betsy's going to tell us a little bit about what happened at that United for Peace and Justice conference in Chicago. Thanks, Betsy.
TAPS, Jeanette Rankin Peace Center.
Helena Peace Seekers.
Helena Peace Seekers, just don't go.
There are about 1,400 groups nationwide. Most of them obviously are larger cities, but they are both national groups like Code Pink and groups that are all over the country and have chapters. But there are also local groups like us, like the Peace Center and the Peace Seekers and TAPS. And so we, the group, it's the largest anti-war coalition, Peace and Justice Coalition, United for Peace and Justice, and it was a great energizer to be part of that, to be this whole group of people working for peace, to come together and to respectfully make decisions about how we move forward and what we do and how we work out differences amongst us. So it was a great group to be part of that. They come together every 18 months and they elect the steering committee, which is representatives half from the national group and half from local groups that then govern that large group, anti-war group. And they also have components in Canada. I don't know, Sophie, if you're aware of that, United for Peace and Justice Canada. They're also connected with some international groups in London and Germany and some other places. They represent the United States anti-war movement and peace movement in other countries. World Social Forum, we go and represent, or United for Peace and Justice goes and represents us all. So it's a great group that's lobbying and working for us. One of the things that we did was come up with the program priorities for the next 18 months for all of the groups that are part of United for Peace and Justice. What do we think is important for us as peace workers to work on for the next 18 months? So you can just imagine there were 300 and some people that were delegates to this from groups, just like you guys sent me, groups all around the country sent other people, and so 300 of us had to come together and make decisions about that. So you can just imagine how many long into the night hours that took. But here is the list, and I think that it actually is good work. And I'll say them in the list of priorities. So the first one is the highest priority, and that is ending congressional support for the war. Many things to do that, with letters, with putting pressure on our representatives, but ending the Iraq War was seen as the thing that we have to do before we can really do any of the other things that we want to tackle. And the congressional support for the war is one thing that's really got to go. Number 2 is a major anti-war mobilization this fall. And I'll come back to that because there's things in there, so I'll come back to that at the end. Number 3 is counter-recruitment work and support for the people that are military resistors, the families of veterans themselves. We are already doing that, just don't go, and many of our other groups are doing that, but some of the groups were not. They were not doing much of that, so that was seen as a priority. Number 4 is exposing and challenging the economic costs of war and the military budget. And ways to do that are by doing education campaigns about what the war costs, and just as we've done with our resolutions and referendums, to let our communities know what they're paying and what they could have purchased for those dollars. The next priority was relating to the 2008 election season. And both United for Peace and Justice is committed to having a large mobilization at both the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention this summer, or next summer. So, jumping ahead of myself, it's not quite that far underway. But, so that will be something to work on. The next priority is skills and organizing training for local groups, so that's all of us. United for Peace and Justice as our representative, as our common voice. wants to be able to come back with skill training, like in fundraising and helping local groups build mass. So we can amass more members, more supporters, more people, so that in the end, the whole group nationwide grows. The next one is challenging the war profiteers. And that would be who? Halliburton, Backwater, Blackwater, all of the people that are making money off that, finding ways that we challenge that, boycott that, expose that, let people know those things. And the final priority was a nationwide public education project, probably related to similar to those things. There were a number of other areas that did not make the top list of priorities, but we also recognized were critical to the work, but not directly related to ending the war in Iraq. And they are impeachment, the urgent need to prevent an attack on Iran, nuclear disarmament, international projects, linking war and militarism to global war and the climate crisis, challenging U.S. support for the Israeli occupation and working for lasting peace in the Middle East, and civil liberties, torture, and habeas corpus. Not necessarily advocating torture, but ending torture. So those were that was the list of things. Felt like a lot of work to come back and do, but it was energizing to be with a lot of people that are doing a lot of things in that area. A lot of places are not, they're just talking about doing resolutions and referendums, so I was able to report that we had 2 cities at the time. Missoula hadn't voted. I was on pins and needles yet for that, but now we have 2 referendums and a resolution in Montana, so that's great. And as far as the fall mobilization, there was a lot of discussion about that. The feeling was that we need to amass the biggest number of people in the streets ever. And there was commitment from the people from Canada to be with us, and from Germany and London to also, whatever date we picked, however we figured out to do that we would make it an international day of mobilization of getting people in the streets. So there were 3 choices, and that was to try to do one place in the United States, maybe 2 places, one on each coast, to do regional efforts, or to do one effort in each state. I voted for one effort in each state because I felt like that would be the easiest thing for Montana to do. It's not what won, however. What won was regionals. So they envision about 8 places around the country to have mass mobilization of people in the streets. And in this region, there was no one from Spokane or Utah, so those people couldn't really talk, though I think that Spokane would make the most sense, or Salt Lake or somewhere that was a little closer. But it looks like Seattle and Portland are the places that will probably be chosen, one of those places for our region. Now, I think we still can do something statewide, and I talked to Marty Kidder from Lewistown just this week, and she said she was in on planning something in Montana with us and would work on that. Similar, I think, to most of you look like you were at the Mother's Day thing last year in Bozeman. So similar to that, to try to do something where we could all get together in Montana. Some people may want to go to Portland or Seattle, and certainly we could have a contingent go over there, but it may just be easier for us to do that in Montana. And we could talk about that through the email and whatnot. The date that was chosen, and again, this was kind of for 300 people picking one day, it was like, aha, but it's October 27th. A lot of people thought that's too late, whatever. But there are a number of things that are happening this fall. The Answer Coalition, who's not there, but they have putting the pressure on. I think it's a campaign to put pressure on. Every time Bush and Cheney appear in public, they're there demonstrating. There's Voices of Voices for Creative Nonviolence, which is Kathy Kelly's group, if you remember her. They are doing another project occupation, which is asking people for a week long to focus on activities that end the Iraq War. And then there's something called the Iraq Moratorium Project, which I can't remember, I have it written down here, the sponsor of that. But it's every third Friday of every month from September through December that people all across the country would choose something that they can do. And everybody, every group can choose something different and publicize it. So some groups may fast that day, some groups may boycott gas stations, have something to do with these priorities, but figure out something that your group or yourself wants to do to mobilize and educate the public and raise awareness. And then do it for the third Friday of every month throughout the fall. So they kind of felt like all of these activities were building up to something in October. There's also an effort to do a fast on Columbus Day in October, which is like the 14th or 13th or something. And take back the definition of America again, rediscover America as a place that is not about gun violence anymore. So that's that. Any questions? I got maybe a little more information if you have questions about some of the particular priorities.
From the emailing, that list of what was decided.
It was in the newsletter from the Peace Center. I did list all of those out. Are you on our e-news?
No, but we'll email you, get on.
Okay, all right.
Anybody should get on the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center email list so we can all know what's happening. And that will save you from having to be also a separate coordinator, because you'll have all of that there.
Well, and the other thing is, if any of you around the state have activities or events or things that you want to include in that newsletter, it does go to about 1,800 people. In this state, there are some folks that are outside of Montana also that are on the list. So it's a great tool for getting the word out about something that you've got going on. It's peace@jrpc.org to just email them and let me know what you want to put on there. While I was there, I just want to mention one thing. I just got the privilege of meeting some people that were bikers, bicyclists, that had come from Iran. They're kids, and they started in Germany on their bicycles, and they went all across Europe, and they're going all across the United States. And I begged and pleaded with them to come to Montana, but they're taking a different route they had already worked out. But they said we left our politics at home, we left our families and our friends and our jobs, and we just want to connect with people and let them know that we're people, we're human, and reach out to them in peace. So they had these beautiful boxes with mosaic peace doves that they're giving to the mayors of all the cities that they travel through as they go. And it just, their speeches and their energy, it was just almost made me cry. I also got to meet a woman from Iraq who's the she's a head of an electrician's labor union. She's the first woman ever in that country to be head of a union. And she spoke, and also head of the oil ministry. He spoke. He's done a lot of work over the last year trying to keep Iraqi oil in the hands of Iraqis instead of multinationals. And so he talked, and we all got to meet him, and that was very great. I said a big hello to Kathy Kelly from all of us in Montana. Yay. She misses us, and so especially Ethel. She remembers biking around Missoula with you. So anyway, I appreciated being able to represent all of you. Sorry, I lobbied for Montana and Jeanette Rankin to get on the steering committee, but no go this time. But in 18 months, I'll go back if so desire.
I noticed that the resolution on stopping the war in Iran is kind of far down the list. I just wanted to remind people that they're still machinating their way out of the war with Iran. And the politics of it are pretty Byzantine, and I can't really figure it out, but they're trying to figure it out. And that will be on top of everybody's list if they do it. I thought that actually it should really be tied in, that particular resolution could benefit being tied in with the resolution on Congress, because while Congress has been twiddling around with these phony resolutions on the war in Iraq, they could easily preempt. They're in the position to totally preempt the war on Iran. And Congress is like acting like, oh, that's not even on the radar screen. And to me, I think that when people are thinking, I think that should be a really central focus if they're thinking about peace, because these guys are still trying to figure out how to have the war in Iran and even do.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Peace Center newsletter. You know, if you want to get on a letter, it comes out every Thursday morning. You get news of what's happening in Missoula, but links to interesting articles, things like that. So definitely make contact with Betsy. peace@jrcp.org.
PC.
BC. It's PC.
jrpc.org. peace@jrpc.org. Bozeman Peace Seekers also put out an occasional newsletter pretty regularly. The Helena Peace Seekers do. The Butte Taps do as well. I think that there's another regular newsletter that goes out. I put out a regular set of mailings once a week or so. So if you'd like to get into those, just contact us and keep sharing the information and in this war somehow. But we've got lots of good news of the national conference. And there's lots of good things happening in each of our communities. And so we'll have brief reports from each of our groups now, interspersed with some more singing from Phil and all of us. But I want to ask one of our newest groups, the Lake County Peace Seekers, and Suzanne Lepke from Polson, to just tell us a little bit about their new group, and they're not so new, but they're new as a member of the Peace Seekers Network. Suzanne.
I'm very happy to be here, I'll tell you that. In Lake County, we do not have as such an organized peace group, but we have people that are interested in whatever activities are going on to do with trying to move the peace effort forward. One thing that we recently got accomplished was, I don't know how many of you go up to Flathead Lake, but you might have, if you go up there, you've seen Bearhead Swaney's place with all the, he's put up, tried to put up crosses for those people who have died in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then about a year ago, we had a group that was meeting, and we put up a peace sign, a commercial peace sign on 93 on the way up to Flathead. And we could only afford to do it for 2 months. So then that motivated people to get another idea, and Bearhead Swaney, where the crosses are, said we could put a sign up on his property. And Johnny R. Lee, a member of the tribe also, painted a beautiful sign. And it's huge. They had to put it up, it goes like this so you can see it from both sides. And it's in 4 parts, that's how big it is. And we put that up, we got that put up on Memorial Day, when, I don't know if anybody was aware of what was going on in Polson on Memorial Day. They had a huge, in fact, they renamed the Polson Bridge Armed Forces Bridge. And a lot of people were really upset about what they were doing, bringing in tanks and all that on Memorial Day, when it should be a day of commemoration for those people who have been wounded and died in the war. And they thought it was, and most people didn't even, they were indifferent to it, but some of us were pretty incensed. But anyway, on Memorial Day then was the day that we had a peace gathering down at Bearheads, and we had about 75 people, which is very good for Lake County. And we put up actually with the help of somebody that had a bucket and, one of those screwdrivers, electric screwdrivers or whatever they are. And they got that sign put up, and it is so beautiful. If you ever drive up that way, you'll be sure to see it. It's on the left-hand side of the road. And you'll see the crosses, which we finished putting up the crosses too. So now we're just trying to, I try to have a booth in Polson. There's something going on just about every weekend. And if I'm able, I'll have a booth if it's not too expensive, and put some peace literature. I try to do Department of Peace stuff, and then different people volunteer to help me, and people sign up and say they're interested in what peace groups are doing, what our group is doing, such as it is. And anyway, so we get more contacts that way. So that's kind of what we're doing in Lake County. We're just kind of moving along the best we can and trying to keep it in the open. So that's Lake County and Polson. But it's all people from all throughout Lake County. It's not just, if we rely on Polson, well, there's some good people in Polson too.
Things about other things that the Peace Seekers Network has done over the last couple of years to help, share the message about what's going on. And we brought two speakers. One was Tom Nagy, and we took him. I'll tell you a little bit more, but we took Tom Nagy from Billings through Missoula and several other towns in late November and December of 2002. Tom Nagy is a person who teaches in the graduate school at George Washington University, although he's recently retired on administrative leave because of sickness, and he's not there at the moment. But he was the person who discovered, through his research on the internet, through Defense Information Agency files, that in January of 1991, when we began bombing in the first Persian Gulf War, that shouldn't be the first Persian Gulf War, but at that time, that there was a study that the Defense Information had on its website, which calculated what would happen if the United States Air Force bombed the water treatment facilities and electrical facilities in Iraq. And Tom Nagy could not believe what he saw there, but essentially they had calculated through a medical team of some kind that such and such, if they did that, people would die at such and such rates from cholera, gastroenteritis, and so forth. And so he blew the whistle on this. First he checked with his friends in the Defense Department, saying, can I really believe what I'm seeing? Well, we brought Tom Nagy out. And he's been active in the peace movement for a long, long time, but he happened to discover that. And so we brought Tom Nagy out. And so he frequently emails me and sends his greetings, because he considered himself the Washington, D.C. chapter of the Montana Peace Seekers Network. He's a great, great fellow. The other person I want to mention a little bit more about is Kathy Kelly. We gave Kathy Kelly the Montana Peace Seekers Network Award for Peace Seeker of the Year in 2005. We took her for a week across the state, and she visited lots of communities and keeps in regular contact, and she is the co-founder of the group Voices in the Wilderness, which now has become Creative Voices for Nonviolence. Voices in the Wilderness was taking medical supplies and various things that were breaking the U.S. embargo, taking them to children in Iraq and the medical hospitals there. And she got it activated just like Tom did, because she found out that under the World Health Organization study, under the U.S. sanctions, which began in 1990 through 1996, 540,000 children under the age of 5 died as a result of the UN sanctions. So there's a crime of immense proportions. And so we've got some great memories of Kathy Kelly and Tom Nagy, and they really do consider themselves part of the Montana Peace Seekers Network, even though Kathy's in Chicago and Tom is in D.C. and Cape Cod. I'm going to bring up a couple more speakers who will tell us a little bit about activities. And I want to bring up Eve Malo, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Abolition Coalition and a few other activities that she's involved in.
I'm a professor, but I will keep it.
Your film will go girl.
I'm from Dillon. My name is Eve Malo, and we also are part of the Peace Seekers, but a very small group in Dillon, but we're not organized. We do a lot of different things, and we gather people from all over. Today I represented Amnesty International And we almost got rid of the death penalty in this legislative session. We passed it through the Senate. We were almost sure we had enough votes on the floor of the House, but we could not get it out of committee. So it didn't fly. So we are collecting money. So I pledged. This book costs $12.95. I pledged the next 100 books, the full proceeds of this book, to abolish the death penalty in Montana over the next Now, one of the things that's really important about these women, this it's called Dynamite Women, and somebody asked me if it was about women miners in Butte. It's about the women Nobel Peace Prize winners, laureates of the last century, and there were 10 of them, 3 of whom were Americans. And the interesting thing about them, and I want to bring up Kathy Kelly and Greg Mortensen, they knew that an individual could make a difference. We're gathered here as a group. As a group, we may do a lot of things, but as individuals, we can get out there and really make a difference. Kathy Kelly was one of those. She didn't get to Dillon because of a major snowstorm. I was hurt. But anyway, Greg Mortensen, I don't know if you've heard of him. He lives in Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah.
And he has established, and I'm not going to go through the history, if you've read 3 Cups of Tea, he's established 55 schools for boys and girls in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And one individual, and Mountains Beyond Mountains is a physician who's changed for some communities in Haiti, medical care. One individual. I'm writing another book about another person who has changed, wrote Where There Is No Doctor. And I am following up on the 2 women who have won this century. It's not in this book, but Shireen Ebadi from Iraq, and I interviewed Iran, I'm sorry. She's from Iran. I interviewed her in May in San Francisco, and I hope to interview Wangari Maathai from Kenya, who started the Green Belt movement. So one individual can do all kinds of things. I want to say one other small thing. I don't know if you know what restorative justice is, but it's a whole new perspective on justice. Now, we do have a restorative justice department in our Department of Corrections. I don't know if you heard of House Bill 629, but this bill passed both House and the Senate, and it means that any non-violent crime can be mediated under the auspices of a judge. It's a great bill. It won't go into effect for a few, until they all go into effect, but the governor signed it. So we're approaching a restorative justice approach, a new approach to solving problems rather than all the violent ones, all the retributive ones, all the vengeful ones that we're so familiar with. So if you want to buy one, I have some here. I was thinking, I don't know how long this is going to last. If you want one, I'm going to pass a sheet of paper around. If you would buy one, all of which proceeds will go to the Abolition Coalition. If you're making out a check, make it out to Amnesty International, and that's one of the coalition organizations. If you don't have a check, and you might want to buy one, put your name and your real address and your email address on this, and I will send you one after you send me a check. Thank you.
Tell us your address for doing that, because we're going to put this on community TV, so in case members want to get a hold of you.
Oh, how to get hold of me?
Yeah, so for your book. Sorry.
Okay. Box 946, Dillon, Montana. Amnesty International. Zip code. 59725.
Marion Jensen from Sacred Ground here in Butte to tell us a little bit about the activities of Sacred Ground.
Sacred Ground is an alternative community space in Butte. I think it's an important example of how you can promote peace in everyday life. We have no staff. We have no benefactors. We have no administration. We are totally supported by donation, and we try to include any kind of community activities, artistic, spiritual, holistic in any way, for the general benefit of the whole community. We try to keep our activities at a low cost so that we charge as little as $3 as an event, so that many Butte citizens who don't get exposed to some of these activities can have a chance to come and see what Socrates Cafe is like, which is a group that does discussions of philosophical topics. We host a Dharma study group every Sunday to teach meditation and the teachings of the Buddha. We have belly dancing. Everybody saw those belly dancers in the parade. They practice once a week at Sacred Ground, partly because they couldn't find any other place publicly to do that. And of course, we support TAPS. We have an annual peace vigil, and we try to get some of the speakers who want an intimate space, because we're just a storefront. But we've had some really provocative speakers there, Kathy Kelly among them, right? And folks from Afghanistan. So we're a place in Butte where you can hopefully see a kinder, gentler world. Tell us where you're at. Well, we're across from the Silver Dollar Saloon. And more than one activity goes from Sacred Ground over to the saloon. Not that we necessarily promote drinking, but we're right uptown, 126 South Main. And we do sometimes promote our activities on Montana Public Radio. And so you're certainly welcome to come over if you hear about anything that's happening.
But it smells really good at Sacred Ground.
It does. It's a very good space. It was once an art gallery, and we have art walks there too. So it's just an all-around good space and peaceful. Thank you.
For 24 hours to do this, we could really build up this network of good news to hear about all the good things that are happening. And that's really what we need to overcome the daily downers that we get when we hear about Senator Baucus and Senator Tester not going very far on ending this war. Right, Bonnie? I want to bring up Margarita McClarty to tell us a little bit about the Bozeman Peace Seekers. And then after Margaret, we'll have Joanne Toon come up and tell us about Just Don't Go. Get yourself in the groove.
First, I have a logistical piece. The Livingston ladies, the Montana Woman 4, lent us those beautiful Statue of Liberty costumes. If you have any, we've got to take them back to them. So, right on the table back there. And does anybody have any? Can I pick one up from you or something? But make sure we get them back to them. I attempt to facilitate the Bozeman Peace Seekers. For about 4.5 years, some of us have been standing vigil in front of the county courthouse every Saturday at noon. You're welcome to join us. Bob comes, Rich comes, Susan comes, Lane comes with the puppies, Charlotte comes, Don is always there. That seems to be ongoing and consistent presence, and we feel it really important to bear witness to our community that way. We encourage a growing student peace group at the university. We co-sponsored a film series with them. We've had some speakers with them. And we're evolving and changing and growing and sticking with it. One of the things someone mentioned was the possibility of Iran war. 4.5 years ago, some of us put our bodies in the State House to try to stop the Iraq war from happening. One of the people who was there with me was named Paul Edwards. And I can't quite believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to make a pitch for the Democratic Party for Paul Edwards, because Paul is organizing the Progressive Democrats in Montana, and he didn't want to go to jail again this year because he's holding out for the day we bomb Iran. And I'm going with him then. But in the meanwhile, if you want to support him pulling the Democrats to the left, here are some sign-up sheets for that. Another kick I'm on personally has to do with Amnesty International. There is one woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize who has spent most of her life in prison or house arrest. Her name is Aung San Suu Kyi. This is a petition to the UN Secretary General to take care of her, get her out of house arrest. And I'm going to pass this around.
By the
It
way,
just
I
takes a
interviewed
signature.
her in Burma. It's in my book.
Yeah. Really important that we stay on top of this stuff.
Giving out addresses, I would say that the Montana Peace Seekers Network has a website. It was put together by Ann Randall, formerly of Billings, now in Idaho, who volunteered and is our volunteer web diva, but she's donated both the space and all of the updating. And if you are a group that does not yet have a web page linked to the Montana Peace Seekers Network, if you go to www.montanapeaceseekers.org, if you happen to misspell it as .com, it'll still work, because Ann Randall's covered all the angles. But there are links to lots of the groups that have taken advantage of this. But if you would like a website or a piece of that web page, you can do it very easily, and we'll teach you how to do it. A lot of groups that have, like the Network Peace Center and Helena Peace Seekers, have their own website are linked there. But go there and updates it pretty regularly now with articles and links to sources of information. So go to Montana Peace Seekers Network website as well. Another great group from Helena, and working not only in Helena, is Just Don't Go. And Joanne Toon, who was for the first 4 years of the Helena Peace Seekers, a co-chair of the Peace Seekers, is one of the leaders of Just Don't Go. So I'll ask Joanne Toon to come up and tell us about Just Don't Go.
To do right now is have a little levity, and also I was told a little secret in my ear that somebody might not be involved in the View Parade next year, and that makes me so sad. So everybody say in unison, bring back Mary Kay for next year.
Yeah.
Bring back Mary Kay! Bring back Mary Kay! Bring back Mary Kay! Come up here, Mary Kay! Thank you.
Yay, Mary Kay!
She has done so much to bring our groups together and to make sure that everybody is represented in the state. And I think that's highly important. And I think she deserves a great big hand. Anyway, my name is Joanne Toon. I represent a group called Just Don't Go. This group was formed with the purpose in mind of educating youth on the alternatives to military service. This spring, what we did is we circulated a letter to the editor to bring about some points on the delayed enlistment program. I received a call from a young man in Bridger, Montana, who got recruited from the military because of their fancy schmancy shows that they put on with their armed tanks and their helicopters and bleh.
Climbing wall.
Yeah, the climbing wall is what he got enticed with. Well, he read our letter, and guess what happened? He didn't go through with the oath, and
They don't like to come into public, they don't like to anything of a formal nature. But we do have this organization, which is, as I said, very loosely formed. And what we like to do is things like we did today, which is march in the parade. We like to go to various other events like the Mother's Day March down in Bozeman. We were a presence there too. If anybody is interested in what our organization is all about, or what the national organization is all about, you can find us at mtveteransforpeace.org. And if anybody wants any more information about what we're doing at the current time, or who the membership is, and that sort of thing, you can also get a hold of me. And my email address is johnnykim@earthlink.net. Thanks a lot.
One of the things I also want to stress is that in our forming our links with our brothers and sisters in the military, both past and current, we're overcoming that mythology about how supporting the troops means supporting wars. The Veterans Administration, in many of the resolutions that we've proposed in Butte and Helena and so forth, have stressed, even though the Missoula one got changed a bit, we'll hear more about that later, but stress that what we want in our resolution is to bring those troops home, end the occupation of Iraq, and fully fund those veterans' benefits for people who are fighting for their lives to overcome the traumas and sicknesses and illnesses that they've incurred while serving as people in the military of the U.S. So we know that the military are brothers, sisters. Do not hate them in the slightest, do not spit on them ever, and open our hearts to them as we would any person. And we hope that that's a key to ending this war as well. One of the things that I have us do now is have Phil and I read you a song. It's a song that you find at the top of your song sheet. I'll start showing you how this goes. And Phil will give us a little accompaniment, but it's really related to the Veterans for Peace and Just Don't Go. That Just Don't Go picked up its name from this song. This song was written by a fellow named Scott Crichton. Some of you know Scott Crichton?
Yeah.
Some of you don't know that Scott Crichton back in the 1980s was the organizer for the Last Chance Peacemakers Coalition in Helena. And about that time wrote this song called Just Don't Go and Sign Up. And at that time, some of you may know him by his stage name of Curly. He sang as Curly and Kate. They have a couple of great albums out back in the 80s. And Scott wrote this song. Scott's one of my best friends. I didn't ask him if I could sing. So I have sung in trios, I sung in duos. I'm not going to do a solo, so I want you to sing with me. And I'll show you how it goes. It's an easy song and a catchy little tune, but look at those words. Pick up the words so you can go along with me. And I'll bring you along, okay? Yeah. I said, now don't you go down and sign up. Don't you go. Refuse to be part of their lineup. Don't you go. Don't you go give them your number. Don't you go give them your name. Don't you go doing nothing at all. Just refuse to be part of their game. They say we can fight for freedom. Don't you go defending some oil-rich kingdom. Don't you go. Well, don't you go fighting in the Persian Gulf or the Caribbean Sea. Because the people that you'll be asked to kill will be a lot like you and me. Oh, don't you go down and sign up. Don't you go. Refuse to be part of their lineup. don't you go. Don't you go give 'em your number. Don't you go give 'em your name. Don't you go doing nothing, no, just to be part of their game. They'll be saying you're fighting for freedom. Don't you go. It's a freedom to fatten their profits. Don't you go. Won't you take a look and see what's been coming down? The puppets we've been popping up and the people we've been pushing down. Don't you go down and sign up. Don't you go. Refuse to be part of their lineup. Don't you go. Don't you go give 'em your number. Don't you go give 'em your name. Don't you go do nothing else. Just refuse to be part of their game. If you and me, brothers and sisters, don't you go. But you peace work as resistors. Don't you know that the leaders of this mighty land can see the writing on the wall? That the people can put an end to war when enough must refuse the call. Don't you go down and sign up. Don't you go. Refuse to be part of their lineup. Don't you go. Don't you go give 'em your number. Don't you go give 'em your name. Don't you go doing nothing at all, just refuse to be part of their game. Don't you go down and sign up. Don't you go. Refuse to be part of their lineup. Don't you go. Don't you go give 'em your number. Don't you go give 'em your name. Don't you go doing nothing at all, just refuse to be part of their deadly game. Scott Crichton song. We're trying to get Bruce Coburn to sing that one, but we haven't made contact with him. We will, because that song is relevant 2007 as it was in 1884, when we were trying to stop the war against the people of Nicaragua. I want to invite Ethel McDonald to come up and tell us about the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center and its activities. They've been doing lots of things, and as I said, you can get on their newsletter.
And I want to tell you quickly a little bit that some of you don't know. First, I'm just curious, how many of you are getting the Peace Center e-newsletter now? Okay, so I'm talking to a few people then who don't know every single thing we do. I wanted to just mention, okay, we are a 501c3. We have a board, but we call ourselves a coordinating council. I'm on it, and John, who spoke, I guess they had to leave, and Chad over here, raise your hand, and Carol are on the coordinating council. And then we have, of course, Betsy is executive director, and she is our really only, full employee. And then Portia has been, raise your hand, has been our great Vista volunteer this year. And we are at 519 South Higgins, just over the Higgins Avenue Bridge. And we have a fair trade store. And Portia has really done a great job this year as a volunteer. We just have great things. Lots of bumper stickers and things we've always had. And so I wanted to mention what we do. I really think one of our best things we do is simply being this kind of umbrella group with an e-newsletter that reaches a lot of people, and then an occasional hard copy newsletter, hopefully 4 times a year. And so we keep those contacts, and keep everybody informed of what's going on. And our calendar gets really lengthy, and we decided about a year or two ago to separate the calendar of weekly events, or the events of the week, and have one that's just peace action. And there are so many things to do every week. If you just chose one action a day, you can easily do a different one. I mean, it's everything from amnesty to Witness for Peace, calling about the School of the Americas, and the latest planned Columbia vote, and of course, concerned about Iran. There are numerous petitions to say, don't bomb Iran, and all of them. So we have all of those things weekly. We have our many events like this year we did the 4th anniversary, our 4th time commemorating, or whatever we do, the bombing of Iraq and the first time. And Then we do bring in speakers. We've had Dave Grimsland talking about Islam, and a lot of those kind of events. Sometimes things that come up, we work coalitions with other groups. We have also Committee for Peace Recruitment. Again, John has been very active on it, and then another of our most active members is leading right now. But that is a group where we have been getting peace recruitment into the schools to try to combat all the military recruitment. And we have a little booklet of a resource booklet for things besides the military, where you can get scholarships, opportunity, travel, all those things to go into the high schools. So that's one of our ongoing projects. Another new project that we haven't quite gotten off the ground, we do have a person interested in working on it. We have some money for it due to donations for that particular project, is to have a peace trunk to get into the schools, to have available for teachers to check out, like they can check out the wildlife trunk, that comes around. And we're working on getting that going. We recently did work on the Missoula resolution, along with Coalition of Butte and Helena, to try to get the three cities to get this. Actually, it would have been nice to get it through the council. We did well to get our Missoula City Council to adopt a resolution to put this on the ballot. And so it reads much like Butte's and Helena's resolution to end the occupation of Iraq, bring the troops home as soon as possible, and support them when they get here, support them with all the things they need. And that was a very close and pretty hard-fought battle. We had all this war vocabulary. But it was 6-6, and Mayor John Engen did vote to put it on the ballot. And it was an interesting time. I was amazed, the room was full, and I really thought they were all on our side until they started speaking. And about, one of the council members made a count, it was 17 against the resolution, 21 for, according to him.
I got a different count.
Oh, did you? Good.
Yeah.
What was your count?
27 for and 17 against.
Oh, well, maybe, okay. Maybe he even said that, maybe I missaid it.
Yeah, he wasn't listening to some of us.
Right. Well, he had already heard us once too, but for me, really, I mean, I found it very hard. We do want to have that dialogue, but it is very hard, for me at least, to listen to people who still believe the same old lies, that Iraq attacked us, that they are a danger, that they're going to come here. And it's really hard, and it is so important that we reach those people. The other thing was, we felt, many of us, how important it was to convince or make these 6 who were opposed to the resolution realize that we're coming from the same place they are, which is concern for the troops. Most of them are concerned that any kind of action like this somehow demoralizes the troops. And probably most of us in here feel they're already demoralized. It's just a matter of when are they going to finally, come back. And we want it to be sooner rather than later. The other big thing, of course, is our annual fundraiser, our International Peace Party, this year on August 26th. I have no head for numbers, dates. It's a Sunday. I do know it's a Sunday, the last Sunday in August. And if you can't be there, you can help us by buying a raffle ticket. Cute. And we have sheets of them, and we cut some apart. So they're 3 for $10, and we have a lot of neat things. They aren't listed, so I better say whatever they are. Weekend at Granite Hot Springs near Missoula. Barney Jetty's earrings and things go for $300, $400, $500, and this pair is valued, I think, $300. Very, very beautiful earrings. What else, Betsy?
We have peace jewelry, including blinking peace jewelry.
Oh, yes, lots of fun
And
things.
we have a float trip down the Alberton Gorge, and some video rental coupons. So, and there's an original James Todd woodcut and a photograph of Yellowstone photograph, I think, or Ponderosa Pines, I think it's called, of Noah Jackson original. So all of those are raffle items. Plus, we have probably 10 times that many things in our silent auction. So if you've never been to the Peace Party, it's great. It's dinner, a little entertainment, networking with lots of great people, auction.
And the theme this year?
The theme this year is Making Peace Visible.
Okay, and
that is the other thing.
That reminds me of the other project that I almost forgot, which is, we had the opportunity approximately a year ago to buy 4.4 acres on Waterworks Hill. This is on Lower Waterworks Hill, and at the Peace Party last year, that was our last auction item, was pledge money for the Peace Park, and we raised pledges for the full amount we needed, $10,000 that night. So we have purchased that land. We have not done much yet. We're meeting all the time. We have pulled a few weeds, and we have a cairn. We have a peace pole up there. And on Memorial Day, we had a small, it was rainy and pretty cold, small group, but very meaningful. For those of us who were there, we had our own Memorial Day service up there and brought rocks or other things with people's names to commemorate names that maybe aren't always remembered on Memorial Day as heroes, like those who have resisted war. So, and the peacemakers. So I think that brings us up to date, if I didn't forget anything. Did I forget anything, Nancy?
No, but maybe one day we will be having a gathering place
Oh,
in the
yes.
park. So maybe one day this group can actually meet there. We want it to be a destination place that when people come to Missoula, you got to go to the Peace Park. We're going to do a monument to the old peace sign that was in Missoula now. So we have lots of plans. We're still taking donations for the money needed to carry out all of those plans. So we'll be unrolling those slowly but surely over time.
We're gonna do some more singing, but you can look over those. If you have a favorite song on the list, look it over and you can suggest that we do it. So we sing a song that you like, not just one that I like.
Bring back Empire. Do Empire, Phil.
Yeah. So we can have Phil Coey sing another song.
Where have all the flowers gone?
We got freedom of a certain kind. We gotta put our troops out on the line. We got TV, so we believe there ain't no reason for us to grieve. We got an empire. We got an empire. But don't believe you're gonna be able to put that white man's burden down. We got an empire. We got justice, and it's supreme. We found a dirty black judge, but we scrubbed him clean. We got a Senate, rich women and men, who give up too much just to get back in to the seat of empire. The seat of empire. Where the enemy within knows you better than your friends. Don't offend your empire. We got prophets like Gordon Liddy and Rush Limbaugh, no man of pity. We got Tom Brokaw on our TV sets. Now how much better can the media get without an empire? Without an empire. So keep on chugging that Coca-Cola and gunning them union organizers down. It's for the empire. Know your empire, how far it goes. To deal in death, to smell like a rose. To starve the children for the estates. Learn to live with fear and hate. And thank your empire. Thanks to the empire. And when they come around asking for your firstborn son, give him to the empire. Give him to the empire. Give him to the empire.
groups.
Understates the case.
It's a hard act to follow.
Well, we've got about 5 or 6 more reports, so I'll ask everyone who's going to report now to give us just a couple of minutes. I'm going to call Bruce Russell from Montana Partners for Impeachment, which follows that song very well.
Great song, great song. I'm going to give you a little bit of news, I hope a little insight that plays into some of the things I learned this last year trying to support impeachment in the state of Montana. And finally, paying it back or paying it forward, I guess, by getting some things to you that came out of our work this last year. We brought it for the peace seekers in each of the cities. So don't leave here without one of these if you are involved with a city-based peace seekers organization. News. When I came and spoke to you last year, there was me, and there was a former legislator, and a little bit of a connection with Paul Riches over here, and I was able to bring you some kind of a greeting from his affirmation that there would be something that would get to the legislature regarding holding accountable those who have been violating their oaths of office now for 6 years. That was pretty small. But here, I ran into Mike Mosolf, who was our one impeachment candidate in Montana from Dillon. Yeah. And Mike has been doing great work. As recently as last week, he was involved in the ACLU activities having to do with habeas corpus and the illegal law that allows our president to do what he will with whomever he chooses, whenever he likes, by whatever category he wishes to assign. Now, we did then, through the assistance and the referral of Paul, get to Paul Edwards and the platform committee of a specific party. And at that point, we were Montanans for impeachment. And so it was okay for us to have a little bit of an association with the party. However, when it got to the platform party, they discovered that that was a fractious issue. And a fractious issue is not something you necessarily want to take on when your parties have been going like this. And that's where they are now. One is associated in the mind of the other as Marxist, and the other is associated in the mind of the other as fascist, and there's almost nobody in the middle. The effort then went forward in Missoula, mostly people who wrote up what we think was the best 4-article resolution for the impeachment of Bush and Cheney in the country. We thought it would save the national legislature 30 days. It was so simplified, cut and dried, and everything provable right down the line. We presented that through the representative system. We chose our local representatives there in Missoula to bring it forward. We put it forward in the Senate because the Senate was where we had the party majority by 1 vote. And we thought, well, this is going to now be just a legislative issue. People are going to jog this forward. However, parties were like this. And if I have to give you a conclusion of all the efforts that we made, and we made many, and we even tried to bring in an impeachment person at the federal level under the Nixon administration in order to unify our caucus. The parties were like this. Our representative said to us, it is too fractious for us to bring forward the issue of deposing the leaders of the other camp. And that's where things stand. We are in the process now of just trying to coordinate various groups that are having their essential rights as Americans infringed. And they're organized as groups around those infringements. We're going to try and put on a demonstration on the 6th of August, Hiroshima Day. We hope there's somebody there for habeas corpus, a group that's going to center on that issue. And we hope there's somebody there who's going to concentrate on getting the troops home now. We hope that there's a group there that has to do with violations of privacy in the Montana Constitution. We hope there's a group there, probably PDA of Montana, for making it clear that Mr. Rehberg has been voting against the interests of the Montana Constitution for years now, And not only did he do it before the election, he is doing it in a concentrated way now. And we've had 4 impeachment demonstrations in Billings in the last 2 or 3 months because he will not listen to the people. At the present time, then, any support you can give us for this, multi-group, multi-infringement of rights demonstration on the 6th, we appreciate it. Now, what have I learned? I'm disillusioned. Now, that doesn't mean I'm depressed. I have lost the illusion in this last year that when the parties are going like this, that individuals will stand up and say, no, I'm an American and I stand for America. I don't give a damn about your party, and I don't give a damn about your party. If your party is not going to support America, there's something wrong. And how do we get to the place where we can cooperate from both ends, can draw people into the middle and say, hey, we've got to learn from the mistakes of history. The difficulty of that statement, we all accept it. The difficulty of that statement is we only remember 1 generation back. So what is it that we remember? We remember no more Vietnams. And there are 2 sides to that argument. On the one side, no more Vietnams, we don't engage like an invading power. And the other side of that is, don't spit on me, I'm a soldier.
And don't withdraw.
I'm going to take you back just a moment to the way it was for the people who wrote our Constitution and what their mind was doing as they looked back at the lessons of history. They learned that in the 1600s in England, the Catholics were killing the Protestants. One-on-one, just like our party situation now, one-on-one. That they had spent hundreds of years fighting wars with France, back and forth, back and forth. That they had had one group of people trying to take the whole power of England because they had a family name and a line of kingship, and they were fighting against another line of kingship. So what did our founding fathers do, knowing that this was their situation? And that that's unworkable except through war. They said fundamentally, every 4 years we have an election, but that doesn't solve our problem for abuses of power. We need something special. We need a middle way for dealing with the situation. That middle way is our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we must subscribe to it or we're engaged in abuses of power, and when somebody abuses power, you throw them out because you are the people who voted them in the first place. That is not only your right, it is your fundamental American responsibility. Which means... Which means it's the middle way. When people call you a radical for standing for the principle of the people throwing out those who will not obey the law, you tell them the truth. Our founding fathers taught us that the only way to deal with the mistakes of history is to throw them out for their abuses. They only have the right to rule when they're not abusing their power. With that kind of a view then, we enter into the fall and we've got activities. And so this is my opportunity for our little group. We've got 6 men now on an advisory council. We've got 300 people on our email list. We've put out 50 newsletters. We've engaged in the support of 36 impeachment candidates around the country. We've had help and assistance from after Downing Street and about 5 other federal level organizations. We're moving forward. And here's a way to do it. One thing we were able to accomplish out of the Montana resolution was that we put out a 23-minute video called Fraudulent War. It does 2 things. It was made for the Senate Judiciary Committee to convince people in the Judiciary Committee that it is, by all evidences, 1 full year of fraud by Mr. Bush and Mr. Cheney. 1 full year. We've never had that kind of fraud pulled off in America in our history. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of fraud. A full year of fraud. That's the main point of this. Now, it's done also to prove the point for an average person in the very middle. I'm a Johnsonian Democrat. I believe in that kind of society. That's who I am. I'm what I consider to be in the very middle politically, following the issue that is in the very middle of American documents and beliefs. That's what this is for. So, where is Billings Peacekeepers?
I'll give that to the mayor.
Right? Helena Peacekeepers. Seekers, excuse me.
I'm the Helena Peacekeepers.
Okay, great. Great Falls.
Starshine.
Okay, other cities. Bozeman.
Time I remember very clearly, she said, don't follow the parade when the parade's going in the wrong direction. My mother was a good Catholic, and she'd be very proud of the Catholic activities that Mary Craig is going to tell us about right now.
What brings me to peace work is the fact that I'm a Catholic. I have some pieces that you may find very interesting. Catholic Economic Justice for All document, very first line is, the economy exists for the person, not the person for the economy, not the person for the economy. So the economy is saying profits before people. We're saying people before profits, and that's something Catholics believe in. The way Catholics address this, and I'll hand these out, the way Catholics address this is in very, very different ways with different groups. One of them is right here where you are today. Holy Spirit Parish has a social justice ministry. So they've made this available to us today, and that was nice of them to do. It also has a Justice Voices column in the Diocese of Helena newspaper. Every month I coordinate a column called Justice Voices, Who Will Speak If We Don't? The current issue, which you can take here on page 14, has an article written by Elizabeth Tomlinson of Missoula. Elizabeth has written on what made in China can really mean. So you find out what's really going on behind that label. Please pick these up and take them with you. It's on page 14. One of the other things, if you saw today, Sister Elizabeth Olson, who's the chaplain at St. Patrick's Hospital in Missoula, was walking in the parade, as she always does, with a sign that says, Sisters of Charity, BVM, and Associates. George Waring, my husband, and I are both associates of the Sisters of Charity, BVM. Dubuque, Iowa. They taught me in grade school, which is probably where I get some of this stuff. But at any rate, those nuns have a really neat thing. One of the things that I'm able to do with them is that I'm part of a group called Shareholder Education and Advocacy Group of the BVM Sisters. There are 10 sisters and 12 and 2 associates in this group, but guess what? Where I've been the last 2 years, about May 15 or May 17, is at the Halliburton annual meeting with a human rights resolution that the Sisters of Charity, BVM, have brought forward along with other sisters, the whole Presbyterian Church Pension Fund, Christus Health. People that get involved with this are a group called Interfaith Center on Corporate Responsibility out of New York City. Write down iccr.org, because ordinary people can get involved with their investments in order to try to change poor corporate behavior. So I'm on the group that works on violence and militarism in society. I have a presentation I make on violent video games. If anyone wants it around the state, I'll be happy to bring it. We are also very good friends with a Butte guy named Father Steve Judd, who runs the Marino Language School in Bolivia, Cochabamba. And so he is another piece that brings us into the South American community. And so we have a lot of different things that are going on with these groups. And so I guess I'd just like to say thank you for allowing our Catholic people to be a part of this nice left-wing stuff, because you know what? We have a left-wing side of the Catholic Church. Thank you.
Yay!
That's my side of the Catholic Church, I tell you. I want to invite Rose Brock from the Butte TAPS group, Taking Action for Peaceful Solutions, to tell more about things that Butte TAPS is up to.
So I guess the front thing on my mind for the summer that Butte TAPS group does is we have a mobile store that meets at the center of Main Street every Saturday morning. And it's a great way, Polson, to make some bucks for your group to further your causes. So we're selling t-shirts, bumper stickers, pins, buttons, time plants, time for peace plants, all kinds of goods. And most of all, planting seeds in people's minds, even the folks who come and stand like this and read every, what they consider obnoxious poster and bumper sticker, the stuff goes in their brain and you know, the seeds are planted for them. So that's how we, for the last year and this summer too, make money for the other things we do. We're sponsoring awards at the annual Southwest Montana Science and Engineering Fair, Renewable Sustainable Award, along with the Peace Seekers at Montana Tech, doing a film series during the summer, and through the, okay, go ahead.
George will talk about his film series. Why don't you just do it right now, George? And we'll try to remember if we left something else out that we had to say.
I'll be glad to. We're beginning a
Wait.
6-week documentary series on Tuesday, is that my, okay.
Yeah.
Tuesday night, 7, in the Library of Montana Tech Auditorium. We show 10 documentary films each semester. We're showing just 6 this summer. We're going to start with Norman Solomon's new documentary on spinning the war. We're going to finish up with Amy Goodman's documentary on independent intervention. And then we're going to have some tried and true documentaries, Return to Kandahar. We're going to be showing, when we showed it last year, only 2 people showed up because we had a foot of snow blizzard in January. So a popular demand, we're going to show the trials of Henry Kissinger. And I mentioned the documentary series because we own these documentaries and we're quite willing to help your group out too, if you want to start a documentary series. We're all engaged in education, basically. We can't make any conversation work until we plant the seeds, as George says.
One of the biggest things that the TAPS group was involved in, along with the coalition from across Butte and across the state, was the resolution that our very brave and wise commissioners, 6 of them anyway, passed the 8 to 4, sorry, passed the resolution to end the war, bring troops home. Challenge the rest of Montana to follow Butte's lead.
Yeah!
All your cities have to do this, and we'd be happy to talk with you guys about it. We happen to be so fortunate because one of our council commissioner members is Dave Coleman, whose son was injured terribly by an IED in Iraq. That boy was going to ride with us in the parade today, and it probably wasn't a good day for him because he would have been here otherwise. But he was the Grand Marshal of the parade 2 years ago. Yeah. He spent 2 years back east in the hospital after that accident. His dad, the commissioner, is also a disabled American veteran. And he has so much credibility in this town that he was very integral to our being able to get 8 of the 12 commissioners to vote for this. He's also Commandant of the Disabled American Veterans. And guess what else? He's chairman of the Butte Silver Bow Democratic Party. And a pianist at Julian's. And we'd be happy to send you our resolution information. Also, I think the most critical thing for me here today is be sure that we thank some people who have just been amazing in trying to get this float put together and this gathering put together. We have a man here, if you please stand up, John McCracken. John is our carpenter, our man who knows how to do almost anything that you'd need done. He's also an over-the-road driver who has to race out of town and in town, and he's got girls here with him, his daughters, who've been very helpful to us as well. Along with John, Margarita's husband, Don McClarty. Would you stand up, Don? You know, you can have an idea, but but who knows how to put the arm on the statue, huh?
Yeah,
So we really have to thank these guys so much, and everybody who's been here working on that float. Would you just please stand up and take a bow? I just really appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Well, if you can do it, and I did it, the rest of us can do it as well. In Helena, we're going to pass that resolution on the referendum in November. Same thing in Missoula. And it's like Bob Holmes used to say, you know, 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 makes a million. So remember, so let's keep it up. One of the amazing projects that has gone on over the years, and it's not just the Montana project, is a project called Pastors for Peace. And those of us who know about this caravan of Pastors for Peace heading down towards McAllen, Texas, then on the way to Mexico and on the way to Cuba to break the humanitarian aid blockade will really be appreciative of this. And I know I'm interested in seeing those things happen in McAllen, Texas. That's where my 5 grandboys are. That's where the caravans come from all across the country. But we have, as you know, or if you don't know, Sophie Zeiner, who is from Vancouver, Canada, who is traveling along with Katie from Missoula, as part of the Pastors for Peace caravan. She's going to tell us a little bit more about that project.
First of all, I'm going to time myself because I tend to be a bit of a ranter. But first of all, I want to say it's such an honor to be here and to hear 17 report backs from progressive social justice groups in Butte, Montana. I think that's the most beautiful thing for a person from, they call Vancouver the left coast. But to come here and see 17 groups working together, I think that's something to be really proud of. I also want to say, on the 4th of July, I think it's important to remember that as U.S. citizens, you do come from a revolutionary history and a history of working regular people in this country, fighting constantly for a better world, for a more just world. That's another thing to be really proud of. Some of those people that have given their lives to causes of social justice, people like Dr. Martin Luther King, who have inspired people, are part of the reason why the Pastors for Peace caravan has gone to Cuba every year since 1992 and is going again this year. We're 1 week into this month-long project. Can I ask everyone, how many of you have heard of the Pastors for Peace caravan? Wow! That's amazing. That's really inspiring. And I hope that Bob and Susan have had something to do with that. But so as most of you know then, our route is one of 14 routes that currently is traveling through the United States, starting from Canada in some places, and like tributaries in a stream are coming together, collecting humanitarian aid all along the way, and people all along the way, and having educational events about why the U.S. has this immoral, unjust, ridiculous blockade on Cuba after almost 50 years. And sometimes it's at events like this that we talk to people. Sometimes it's when we're rolling down the road in a big yellow school bus we're traveling to Cuba to break the blockade painted on it. We get truck drivers coming in over the CB saying, "What are you guys doing?" And we get to talk about it. But you guys are a part of this project, whether you know it or not, because the Rankin Peace Center hosted an event last night. And really, this is an act of civil disobedience that is in the spirit of, it's been said many times, if there's a law against loving our neighbor, we want to break it. And it's the only way that change has really been made in this country, and it's in the spirit of this rich history that you have in this country that you should be proud of on this day. But if you want any more information, there's a couple of leaflets on the table. Bob and Susan from Bosman have been on the caravan before. They're great resources. Sure. And if you want any other information, please check out www.ifconews.org. But thank you very much for your time. And you have a beautiful
Actually, Missoula had a pretty good showing. I'm pretty proud of them. But if you haven't spent all your money on raffle tickets and books, and would like to help with some money that can aid the caravan going to Cuba, I'm sure they would appreciate that. So.
But if you want to write us a check, you cannot write the word Cuba on it, or the Treasury Department will steal it.
So how should the checks be made out?
The checks, if you want to be so kind as to write us a check, they can be made out to Pastors for Peace. But don't even write Cuba on the memo line, or they'll steal it.
Thank you very much, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Blessings to you on your trip to Cuba. We're looking forward to a report of a successful caravan, breaking the embargo, taking to our brothers and sisters some really good things. You know, yesterday John Tester made a speech in Helena, and some of you were there. Last Baucus made a speech in Congress. Last spring, Mary Kay and others know, before Baucus made a speech in October of this year, he wouldn't even allow the topic of Iraq to be brought up in a faith forum in Billings, where all the tough issues were going to be discussed because it was too controversial. He wouldn't even allow that. So, you know, we've moved him to at least saying now something's wrong. But both Tester and Baucus, you know, still have, seems, quite a ways to go to actually say, pull the plug on this war. So how do you actually move these folks forward? Paul Richards, who was a candidate for the U.S. Senate last time and has been active in Montana politics for a long time, is going to share some of his thoughts about what we might do to make contact with these senators of ours and maybe move them closer to what we want.
We put 5,000 of these out and support our troops, bring them home. And the Richards2006.us is my website, but you can cut that out if you want. But help yourself. I get asked everywhere I go, what about John? Because John's a friend of mine and I learned a lot about him. We campaigned against each other for 16 months and got to know each other really well. And for those of you that aren't from Montana, we went into the June primary at a dead heat between John Tester and a fellow named John Morrison, who was a more conservative Democratic Leadership Council type Democrat. And it was a horse race. It was a dead heat with me coming in third out of 5 candidates. And John Tester and I had negotiated my endorsement of John Tester before the June primary, about 8 days before the primary, and it made the difference. John won the primary, and of course he won the general. John and I are close. It hurts me to see John go to Washington, D.C. Capitals are really strange places, and you've got a lot of people telling you a lot of strange things, and I try to keep John grounded. But he's listening to the wrong people. The people that he's listening to are telling him he has to earn $2 million a year for fundraising. That's just, you have to do that. You have to earn $2 million a year every year you're a senator for fundraising. So he's gravitating towards the money, which means he's going more towards the Democratic Leadership Council. For those of you that know the Democratic Party, know that's where the money is. He's falling under the influence of Max Baucus. Max Baucus is the person who got the Bush tax cuts through the wealthy, for the wealthy through Congress. He's the person that got the subsidies for the pharmaceutical companies, so Medicare couldn't purchase bulk through Congress. Max Baucus is about as corporate and right-wing as you can get. He's from a right-wing Republican family. He's not there with us on any issue except choice, and he has been there strong on choice. But what we have to do, first of all, every one of you right now when you get home tomorrow, call Tester's office, local, national, doesn't make any difference, but call a Tester office or call a local one and a national one and say, this isn't enough. Yesterday was not enough. It was basically it's not leadership that we were promised. When I was negotiating with John, that was the first issue we discussed, was that he would stand for peace in the Mideast. And John was there, eyeball to eyeball, with his wife and his son present, Charlotte and my mother present. We all eyeball to eyeball. John would stand for peace in the Mideast. That's a specific commitment he made to get my endorsement. You all need to know that, and you all need to remind John of that, because he made it. And we can't let Washington, D.C. take him away from us. And in that regard, I'm a founder of the Progressive Democrats of Montana, and we're getting together. We'll be getting together in the fall for a meeting. You're all invited. We'll probably have John Edwards, Dennis Kucinich, and maybe some of the other candidates there. We're not sure on all of them, but it looks real good for John Edwards and Dennis Kucinich. But we're getting together with Progressive Democrats of Montana to remind the party of what it needs to stand for. And the party is basically right now being taken over by the people who don't want it to stand for anything, people like Max Baucus. And we have to make sure the party continues to stand for something. So be on the lookout for Progressive Democrats of Montana functions and fundraising letters. I just sent out a couple hundred of my contributors. Will get a letter probably tomorrow talking about the need to sign up for Progressive Democrats of Montana and get that organization really rolling. We can keep John honest. I believe we can. I think he's an honest man. I think we can keep him honest. This takes a lot of work. And for Max, we'll probably have to run some opposition against Max. And I'd like us all to be looking for a good candidate. We need a good, strong candidate. It's a lot of work. We went about 40,000 miles over 16 months and spent $13,000. And it's hell. I mean, it's hard campaigning in Montana. It's a big state. And I'm tired. I'd love to do it, but I'm tired. It's so hard running across the state of Montana. But we'll find a good person. And if some of you are aware, Paul Edwards is thinking about it, the guy from Helena. And put a good word in for Paul, maybe, because he might do it. And he has some California connections that might have some money, and so there's a possibility there. But we want a candidate that's really going to run for real and really make these issues viable. We can't do the Baucus thing anymore. Just deny people.
No.
Two things there. Involve yourself with citizenry to call up Tester and Baucus on as soon as the next weekday, tomorrow or the next day, their home offices in your communities and their federal office in Washington, D.C. Do that. And then second of all, when you get a chance, support the Progressive Democrats of Montana. Thank you. Yes?
The Progressive Democrats of Montana, is that, I hope, really Montana chapter of Progressive Democrats of America?
Well, it will be.
Okay. You're aware of the person in Billings who's working on the PDA for Montana chapter?
For the whole
For
Progressive
Montana
Democrats
chapter.
of America.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to get that started in Montana since I went to DC with the Kucinich group in 2004.
Yeah.
And nobody has taken it up, and I'm not gonna do it, but I will support it.
We've got some real talent. There's some real energy. It's really exciting.
I do think it's important that we be part of the PDA
Yeah.
rather than off on our own.
I do too, and I think we're all realizing we gotta get together, and there's some really good energy there. It's really great. We've had some conference calls that have been very lively. Yeah.
What about a candidate for, against Reber?
Exactly.
A progressive.
We've got to look at legislative candidates. There's Bill Kennedy. Bill Kennedy is running so far. He's the county commissioner from Yellowstone County. And we have to look at running candidates across the board, starting at the precinct level. Precinct men and women, going up to legislative races, going up to county commissioners, going up to Congress, going up to Senate, all the way through. We're going to organize as best we can everywhere, for all the offices. Yes?
Well, I was just saying, taking on Max Baucus, I would personally love to participate in that. Because one of the most powerful people in Congress, so.
Yeah, he is.
So that it seems like a, the impossible mission, but if it happened, it would send waves all totally through the U.S. Senate.
Yeah,
It would be a very, very important event.
Max is chairman of the finance committee, and as chairman of the finance committee, he gets as much money as he wants. So we're running against a bottomless pit.
Does he still have more money, but bigger war chest than anybody else in the Senate?
Oh, yeah.
He had at one point.
Yeah. Anybody else running from Montana, I'm not sure about
No,
the Senate,
anybody
but-
in the U.S.
Oh, I didn't
He
know
had a
that.
bigger war chest than anybody
I didn't know that.
in the U.S. Senate at one point.
But
But-
you have to make him talk about the issues, never mind the money.
Yeah.
Never
And-
mind the money,
and
that
that's-
doesn't win.
That's the hard thing that a candidate can do. Sometimes the corporate media doesn't cover you if you don't have money. I'm an example where I got covered very spottily because I wasn't buying a lot of media. The corporate media, if you buy their media, they'll cover you. It's not a thing, if you're a candidate, they'll cover you. I had press releases going out every week, and hardly any of them ever made it to you guys because I wasn't spending that much money with the corporate media. So if we get a good candidate who can spend some money to get access to some of that corporate media, it will really liven things up, and it will have ramifications nationally. It's an exciting situation, and I'd like us to all look at it as a positive situation. And Max is a nice guy. I got nothing against him, but he's just not maybe the best leader that Montana could have. And maybe we need some leadership. And I do see John as providing some leadership in the near future. And that's what I'm going to try to do. I get to go out for breakfast with him in a couple weeks, and we're going to have a talk about the old days. And I'll see if I can get him back on cue.
Tell him that continuing the funding for the war is not supporting the troops.
That's
Bringing them
right.
home is what is supporting the troops.
That's
That
right.
was wrong,
No more
wrong with his
excuses.
speech yesterday.
Exactly.
So he needs to, and he should
We-
ask his crowds what they think.
I think we're all in agreement. I think 3/4 of those people on that parade route today were with us.
Yeah.
3/4
Yes.
of those people.
Yeah.
Yes, finally.
So we all know what to say, so go out and say it. Thank you.
We have two more after me. I'll be very brief. Carol Schneider, talking about women in black, and Starshine, talking about Great Falls activities. But the Helena Peace Seekers, I'm not I'm on the steering committee, but no longer co-chair. But we have co-chairs Gabe Frishon, Rachel Carroll, and Valerie Hellerman, who since January of 2006 that group have been the co-chairs. And they have had activities just as we have since September of 2001, pretty much weekly activities on a whole set of issues. But they're basically categorized around three. I'm not going to go into all the details, but essentially nonviolent opposition to war and presentation of nonviolent alternatives, ecological stewardship, environmental stewardship, and economic justice. And we constantly work with other groups such as WHEEL in Helena for economic justice. WHEEL is working for economic equality and economic liberation. Poor Women's Group, essentially, empowering women to take charge of the hunger and have equality, racial equality, and a whole set of things. I remember clearly that Raul Suarez, the head of the Ecumenical Council in Cuba, said, "I have no words with which to thank God for the 30 years of the Cuban Revolution." He's no dummy, because he knows they've achieved basic justice in Cuba, in spite of the propaganda. You say that in certain circles and they'll hand you, but that's true. And the Pastors for Peace people who visit Cuba know that once you get over the mindset of thinking that it has to be all bad, find out that it's pretty good. So in Helena, we work with the Parallel Organization.
All I want to do is invite you to the Missoula Women in Black have been standing for 6 years, and you are each and every one of you invited to come and stand with us on Friday. If you're in Missoula on Friday, from 12:15 to 12:45, we stand on the Higgins Street Bridge by the Wilma Theater. You don't have to wear black, there's enough of us in black. You don't have to wear anything long, right now it's very hot out there, so, you know, wear cool things and bring your water and that sort of thing. And you don't have to be a woman. A lot of men stand with us and they support us. So come and join us, you know.
I think I get to end with a really good, after all, Great Falls has no organization for peace, but somehow no organization has gotten rid of 50 missiles. Every Wednesday from 5:30 to 6, we stand at the Civic Center steps. And August the 6th, we're going to be by the river in commemoration of Hiroshima.
Yes.
And
What do you mean they did away with 50 of those
haven't we gotten
ICBMs?
50 missiles out of Malmstrom Air Force Base?
Yes.
Yep.
And I failed to mention that I'm a Quaker, and it's the Quakers that do these things. And Butte has a new Quaker organization, and Quakers are for peace. We're for peace. There's that of God and everybody, including Iraq and Iran. Yep.
Starshine, if I could add just, many of us are working on the peaceful conversion of Malmstrom Air Force Base. And Bacchus and Tester are now trying to defend all those missiles, and we need them instead defending wind generators that are going to be built at that site. Cheap wind generators will be put out to the public at about an 80-20 federal match. If we get it right, we could get a lot of employment at Malmstrom, and something that makes a lot of sense. And when you're calling Bacchus and Tester, mention that too, that the missiles don't make sense anymore. They just don't cut it.
Starshine, I'd like to ask you, do you know if they have those Easter vigils at Malmstrom anymore?
No, we do not.
See, they did when I
I'm
was
very sorry, but we do not have them.
in that SALT group, but I was just curious.
Thank you for asking.